Hey y'all, it's Nomadic Shaman here. Thank you so much for visiting my page. Let's continue, right? There were a couple of things that I missed that I didn't touch on in my previous video. So let's get right to it. One thing that I forgot to mention during this whole course, or this whole process, this whole experience, especially everything relating to the gang stalking experience, I realized that Spirit's not going to, as much as I want to know, Spirit is not going to tell me everything at once. When I asked my spiritual team, y'all, they showed me a vision of, I believe it's A Few Good Men, and I believe it was Jack Nicholson. And he said, because you can't handle the truth. And y'all, they right. They right. They right. So because I'm the type of person, it takes me, well, now I am. It takes me a while for me to get there, but once I get there, y'all, I black the fuck out. So I'm gonna just leave it there. So and that's something that I'm always consistently working on. I'm consistently working on that. I feel like I've come a long way as it relates to that. So earlier on, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to handle it. It would have been a wrap. It would have been a wrap. Let me just leave that there. But one of the things that, my spiritual team has shared with me was that these folks, this was originally put in a military court because when Edward Mark Holmes, the person who had left me in his trust, he came to me. He never told me this when he was alive physically, but that he was part of the armed forces at one point. And anyways, and I believe his family, he told me his family was too, because he was Golden family, Golden Star family. I had to look that up when he said that because I didn't know what the hell that was. But that's I just heard veterans, but that's families who have individuals who are part of their families that were at one point in the armed forces, served in the Army or Navy, whichever branch. I'm hearing Army, but anyways. So originally this trust was within military courts. They did some fraudulent shit, lawyers, judges included, court clerks included, where they had the case transferred to a local court. Okay. And he knew that they were going to, I guess because he knows his ex-wife better than anybody, of how mischievous, manipulative, and deceptive that she can be in or is, that he had placed certain safeguards for protection, and one of which was to keep it in the military courts. But somehow her friends, okay, minions, collaborated together and got it into local courts. Okay, so that's where that's not even where the deception and manipulation began. Okay, but that's how that happened. It was transferred. Okay, now so that they can steal the trust, the payout, the house. He even mentioned other stuff that he left in a will or in a trust that was dedicated for me. For those family members, individuals, friends that come across my channel and for whatever reason can't understand or comprehend why the fuck did he leave me, someone that he barely even knew at the time. I believe we had known each other for a year and some change at the time. Why in the hell would he leave it to me? Y'all, this nigga was in some fraudulent shit with his ex-girlfriend and they made money off of me. This was his way of making good, of saying, I'm sorry for the shit that I did to you, what I did to make money off of you, what I did to exploit you with my ex-wife at the time. Apparently, they made a lot of money off of me. Okay. So this was his way as a make good because it was fell heavily on his conscience. Okay. For those who didn't know, now you know. The next part, let me make sure that I'm grabbing everything here. We're 5 minutes in. Let me take my time with this, y'all. The next thing, as it relates to gang stalking, one of the things that they like to do or practice, sometimes you'll have conversations where they're tapping in to your phone, right? Or if they see any type of conversations being happen via your phone, via any type of electronic device, and it's been hacked, it's been mirrored, or they're tapped into it, they'll go ahead and recreate that conversation or scenario. So what that can look like could be somebody else, you happen to be outside and somebody else happens to bring something up that you spoke about. How it related for me was anytime I would take an Uber or a Lyft, the driver would happen to look like somebody I knew, a friend of mine that I knew, or a friend of mine that I just spoke with or just had a conversation with, whether or not it was online, over the phone, via text message. Would either look the same or similar, would be from the same area, would have a similar vehicle as that person, would even in conversations bring up things that we even spoke about, but it would be under the guise of small talk. This is some of the practices that they use, okay? And it's a mind fuck, okay? But so these are some of the things or practices that they would use, okay? No different. Let's see. They would also, when I would use Lyft and Uber, it just so happens that the rides that I found myself on included those riders or those drivers who had cameras in their vehicle, and it would be for, I forget what the verbiage is, but it would also be to protect them as a driver. And I mean, I understand it, the overall scope of things, but I also couldn't deny the fact that that was a possibility that was also being used as it relates to gang stalking. Because oftentimes my guides would tell me who's part of the program versus who's not. Okay. So I would know as soon as I entered the vehicle, not always, either when I entered the vehicle or when I left the vehicle, I would know if they were a part of the gang stalking campaign or organization. Okay, most times that I found myself in the vehicles with the cameras in their car, they were. That may not have been the case for all of them. There was a good number of them, okay? So they also like to shine their lights bright too. If you're driving, they like to shine their head beams when they're coming in from the opposite direction or when they're right behind you. They do that. What else? Um, all throughout, let's see, 3 days before the new moon or full moon, or 3 days after the new moon or full moon, they would do certain tactics to incite fear, and that is to harness, harvest, and siphon energy. That was no different while I was in the hotel. They also mentioned there were 3 people in the room. One was obviously a man. The two women, one woman, I could definitely tell it was a woman. However, there was another woman who had a deep voice. And at first, I had difficulty determining whether or not who was who, meaning if it was a man or a woman. Now, mind you, I never spoke to the crazy bitch. We never had a formal introduction. We never had an introduction. I don't know her. In fact, I didn't even know she existed until I was followed in that event that took place in, what was it, 2025 in DC, when Spirit pointed her out to me. That's when I even knew she existed. Other than that, I was looking at his other baby's mom, okay, who I thought she was the only person alone in this. It wasn't until I saw her that I knew that there were 3 women, okay, as far as physically seeing them, okay. Now, I say that to say, when I was at the event, even though I didn't hear her speak, I heard her crying, or fake crying, because my guys were telling me she was a drama queen. So I heard her fake crying, so I could tell that her voice was deep. Okay. So when I heard the woman who was right next to me in the other hotel room, all this time I was trying to distinguish whether or not it was a man or just a woman with a deep voice. And so Spirit had showed me the connection, gave me a visual of it being the same woman that was at the venue in April of 2025 when I went to a networking event, okay, in DC. And they showed me who it was in that room. And it was a crazy bitch, okay? The handler, the so-called handler, the so-called caretaker, the ex-wife. Okay, now, that was interesting. That was interesting. What was even more so interesting is all that was taking place when I heard the man and her arguing, because at first I thought it was 2 men. There was a moment when I was trying to ear hustle to the door, and it's like she knew. And I said, Spirit, how did she know? And Spirit had shown me that, 1, she was purposely trying to listen for it, but 2, how they were able to hear what was going on in my room. And it's because my phone was hacked, okay? So it acted as both a camera and listening device. So she was also able to hear what was going on in my room. Y'all, it's a lot. And the crazy thing is, her friends, the friends that she was with there that night, doesn't even know that she's into voodoo and sacrifice, because Spirit is informing me that she killed the bird by herself in whatever ritual sacrifice that she was a part of. Okay, like the guy who wanted to go home didn't know she did that, or wasn't there to witness the ritual, the sacrifice. Okay. They also were doing a, what do you call it, sex magic. They were doing sex magic with me being in this room and them being in the other room. They were partaking in sex magic. I knew that because I'm able to feel it when somebody engages in sex magic and they have me at the forefront of their mind or directing that energy towards me. One other thing that I've also noticed is they like to leave comments under my comments that I make on any social media page that I visit. And then they'll make the comment so I get the notice, especially if it's under a comment that I've already made. And then they'll delete it so that no one has proof that it was left, that was created outside of the original poster of the video and then the person who made the comment. You know, so they like to do slick shit like that. Okay. And then they do it to CYA, you know, because they also know that law enforcement, the feds are watching. Let me see what else. Where are we at? We're at 16 minutes. One interesting thing that I discovered in all of this is they like to use fridges, refrigerators as portals. Y'all, if you ever hear any type of bumping in the night and you feel like it's, or you can hear it's coming from your fridge, more than likely, and you have experience with astral attacks, spiritual attacks, more than likely, these witches, warlocks, wizards are using the fridge as an access point, as a portal. Okay, so it's not just mirrors. It's not just, what is it? It's not just mirrors that can be used as a portal. It's not just artwork in frames, glass frames that can be used as a portal. These people are also using fridges as an access point, as a portal to come through, okay? So if you want them to stop doing it, you're going to have to put a lock on it. Okay? However you guys do your rituals, protection rituals, just make sure that that shit is locked. Okay? So that there isn't any type of uninvited guests or visitors that's coming through by way of your fridge. They like to use the fridge, especially if you've locked your mirrors. Okay? What else? We're at 18 minutes. One other interesting thing, because right now the handler, the so-called handler, I call her the crazy bitch, y'all, and I don't feel any type of way about it, even with me being a shaman. Call it what you will, but she has her family do her dirty work when she's not able to be mobile. And one of the individuals that she uses to do her dirty work is her sister. Her sister is Nora. Now, something interesting that I discovered today is that, or maybe it was yesterday, is that she's in a wheelchair. But my spiritual team showed me her in a wheelchair, and then standing up, and then in her wheelchair, and then standing up. So I hope that you're not pretending to be disabled. Woo, I hope you're not pretending to be disabled. Because you have ancestors of people who you have assisted in, how do I say this? Unaliving them by way of spell work. And the ancestors of these individuals that you have assisted unaliving by way of spell work have come to me and want me to share their story. And I'm going to leave this video, what I'm about to say, and I'm going to wrap up this video is, you guys have to be careful. These people don't do homework. They just go ahead and do spiritual work on people thinking that they're going to be a quick lick, an easy lick, without doing spiritual investigation, background checks. Okay? And I say this to say that there are some folks, because her sister isn't the only one, but there are some folks, her sister's one of them, the crazy bitch handler is another one, who have ancestors on the other side that are waiting to get their lick back. Y'all, this is a true thing. Especially with me being a medium, I learn new things every day. One of the things I have discovered to be true is there will be individuals who have passed on by way of an extremely traumatic death by the hands of the other. And they're waiting to get their lick back. Okay? Some of them will get their lick back by ensuring that you have a premature death. This ain't something that I'm thinking about. This isn't something that I'm guessing. This is what I know. And all I'm going to say is, the crazy bitch and your sister, you are on the hit list of people who have already transitioned on the other side. One ancestor, not mine, one ancestor that came through and told me to deliver this message. This is specifically for Nora. They said if you want to pretend that you are disabled and that you are in a wheelchair, we're going to make a believer out of you. This is not coming from me. This is a message that I was given from the other side. I hope to God you're not pretending. They said if you want to be in a wheelchair so bad, we're going to make you a believer. You want to be a paraplegic, we about to make you one. That's really what they said, but I tried not to say it. But they just said, say it how we said it. If you want to be a paraplegic, we are going to make you one. That is exactly what they said. Now I'm at 24 minutes. Let me wrap up. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.